I am here with two great women that will be talking today about self-awareness. We have Nicoletta from Italy and Zahra from Kuwait. And with us here also is Christiana Turchetti, who will be also having this conversation with me with these two ladies. So, Christiana, if you would like to give a word.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Taiba. Thank you, Nicoletta. Thank you, Zara. And thank you all the participants and welcome to our webinar. I'm quite, I'm glad, but quite excited to participate to this webinar because it came from a thought. It came from a thought that we shared together with Taiba a few weeks ago on how emotional intelligence as a woman, how important it is to recognize emotional intelligence, how important it is to deal with it, and more in particular, how important it is to control, or at least to understand our feelings as an act of empowering ourselves, as an act of empowering, personally empowering. And this is organized. I'm the wife of the Italian ambassador to Kuwait, and this initiative is organized in cooperation with Lakom and WEPICK. WEPICK stands for Women Empowerment Program Italy Kuwait, and is an initiative that is supported by the Italian embassy via Spazio Italia Kuwait. Spazio Italia Kuwait is a special place, it's a kind of think tank space within the embassy, where basically we want to connect women. We want to create an informal network of women, Italian and from Italy and from Kuwait, to support them in discussing, in talking, in sharing experience, and create a bridge among the two countries and the two nationalities. So I don't want to take any more precious time. So I'm really looking forward to hear our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Christiana. I will present to you just a brief about each guest and I'll let them do all the talking. First, we have Nicoleta Romanency. She is a sport and life coach, a mental trainer, breath facilitator. She has a master's in neuro-linguistic programming. She's a certified coach in different areas and specialized in problem solving, communication, and strategic coaching. Nicoleta, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, of course. Okay, I started as a coach, as a life coach, but then I decided to follow something that was really near my attitudes. So I started working with sport coaching and top performance. And at the moment, I follow athletes, five athletes that are going to the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Other three athletes that can qualify to the Olympic Games, and I follow like soccer players of the national team and many other athletes and many other clients that just want to reach their top performance. And so I found a place in a word that is traditionally masculine. And so I will tell you something about my story because that could be interesting for what we want to talk about. And at the beginning, when I started, just like most of the women, I thought that the way to reach success in business was to find the same way as men use. And also because for centuries, the word of work was led by men. That's why I try really hard to become as much as possible similar to them. And I thought I had to fight to find my position, you know. And And so at the beginning, I started emulating my masters. I wanted to become absolutely like them, so to be determined, to be focused on my goals, and to be assertive, you know, just like them. But the fact was that they were doing only one job, while beside my career, I was a wife, I was a mother of 3 daughters, fantastic daughters, but really active and challenging. You know, they were like my daughters were rugby players, and so you can imagine the characters. And so I was, and not only I had a home to manage, and I was supposed to support my husband in his career. And you know what? I started having like an internal conflict inside of me, and feeling a lot of frustrations, because I understood that they were right. I would never be enough man. And so I started working on myself. I started working on the awareness of my state of mind. I started working on my emotions, on my beliefs, and I understood that were many parts of me that just agreed with this patriarchal vision, and they were continue sabotaging me, you know. And finally, I found a way of just I found agreements with those parts, and I start and I understood that the only way was to put together these 2 parts. And I finally understood that accepting to be 100% woman just would have helped me to recognize my way, and my resources and my potential. And so I started just bringing myself in the way I was working, and this just made me reach really important goals. And I have been accepted and valued from all those people that at the beginning were always continuing trying to convince me that I had to give up, that was not for me, that I could never enter in the soccer world, in the professional soccer world, or whatever, you know. And so what I can tell you is that the very first thing important to do is to become conscious of our internal dialogue, because most of our self-esteem is just related to that.
Yeah, correct. And this is part of what we're discussing today, one part of it, which is the self-awareness.
Yeah.
So we'll have that later in the discussion.
Okay.
I would also like to introduce Zahra Taqi from Kuwait. Zahra graduated from Northeastern University in Boston in speech language pathology and audiology. She has her CPC from Tokyo in life and parent coaching. She founded the Milestones Coach, an international coaching firm to help families across the globe, from Kuwait to KSA, UAE, Singapore, and so many other countries. Zahra co-founded Bamboo Preschool here in Kuwait. And Zahra is an avid writer. So welcome, Zahra. Can you please tell us a bit?
Thank you so much for your introduction. It's wonderful just to share this space with all of you. Just amazing, accomplished, inspiring women. My name is Zahra Taqi, like Taiba said, I'm from Kuwait. I'm a speech therapist. I worked in the States, in Boston, in schools and in hospitals while I was training, moved to Kuwait and worked at Al Sabah Hospital in Sheikh Salim Al Ali Center for Speech and Hearing. I used to train students coming out of Kuwait University and also treat my patients in the clinic at the hospital. Speech pathology and audiology has been a huge passion of mine. And shifting careers, I guess, to coaching, life coaching and parent coaching was very much in line to what I was doing as a speech therapist. As a speech therapist, I'm always helping my client reach their goals, write out their action steps, and understand how they can get from point A to point B. In 2009, I moved with my husband and my family to Tokyo, Japan. And during that time, I realized that this is a career that I would like to venture into. And like I said, it tied beautifully with my background in speech, pathology and audiology. And I started my coaching practice while we were there. I was working remotely since 2012. So I was coaching clients in Kuwait, coaching clients across the GCC, in Hong Kong and Singapore and the US, so in different parts of the world. And I think what that has helped me do is get a glimpse of what women in particular go through around the globe, either as working mothers or as working women. And there have been so many similarities, even though we come from different backgrounds and different cultures, but there are, I think, some similarities that we all as women go through. Coming back to Kuwait, I continued my practice, moved my practice back from Tokyo to Kuwait, and I started a preschool here in Kuwait called Bamboo Preschool, again, to empower and to enable women to continue their careers and to continue in their jobs and in their passions while they have a trusted place where their kids can be cared for. In a nutshell, this is who I am. I'm an avid writer. I'm a mother of two. And yeah.
For the intro, Zahra. So we are all about growth, and Christiana and I both believe that in order for women to do better for themselves, they need to start by looking at themselves. And you cannot become better at anything without first understanding who you are today. And self-awareness is the first step that you need in order to be able to identify your limitations, identify where you need to grow and what you need to focus on before you can actually strive for something bigger and bigger goals. So why is self-awareness? You're both coaches, and I think in any field, in sports or with mothers or in the workplace, why is self-awareness important?
Nicoletta, would you like to start?
I can start.
Okay.
And I think that self-awareness is the thing, is the only thing, the only important thing, because it's when you are aware of yourself, you just know who you are and you just can decide wherever you want to go. In my esperienza, aiutami.
Experience.
Okay, sì, è facile. In my experience, I see a lot of athletes just coming to me and just telling me that they have no idea of what led them succeed in what they do, win the games or whatever, or not. They just think it's something that happened. you know. And what I just tell them at the beginning is, it's not like that. There's something that happens when you are in the right state of mind. There's something that happens when you're not in the right state of mind, and there's something you can do to change it. But to do that, we have to start knowing some of the mechanism of our mind, and we have to start learning what happens inside of us, which are our beliefs that we just buy from our family, because that's normal as children, and then we bring these beliefs as they were ours, but sometimes in life we just feel that they are uncomfortable for us. It's not our way. And so starting to understand what happens inside of us and how do we work, and starting also to be aware that there's a conscious part that is simpler, and there's an unconscious part that just comes up and just make us move in ways that we just that are not what we wanted to. So that's why I think it's so much important to be aware of ourselves.
So in other words, if you are to become aware, you have to become aware of your beliefs in the beginning, because that's what shapes your actions.
Yeah.
Zahra, by working with mothers mainly, and mothers in the workforce, is that something you actually work on with them?
I definitely work on that and advocate for self-awareness very much. I think for us to understand where we want to go, we need to understand who we truly are. And it takes a lot or a lot of effort for people in general, but women in particular, to actually take a moment and truly think of, who am I? If I ask any woman this question, she'll tell me, I'm a wife, and I did the same just now. I'm a mother, I'm a mom of 2 kids, but then we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to get to the roots of this and really take the time to contemplate the real nature of our existence and answer, who am I? And so with that, self-awareness becomes about learning who you truly are, to understand why you feel the way you feel, or why do you behave in a particular way. Once you begin to understand this concept, then you have the opportunity and the freedom to kind of change and think and shift things in your life. Whether it's attaining a particular goal, whether it's changing a particular habit, or even ridding yourself of these self-limiting beliefs. Sometimes women will have self-limiting beliefs, thinking that I'm a mother and there's only so much I can do, or because of my background, there is only so much that I could achieve, or I come from a certain background and this is only the realm of what I can delve into. And only once we understand ourselves and truly create that self-awareness and allow ourselves to understand ourselves better, and delve kind of into our psyche, do we really understand who we truly are, what are our core values. And I always say this to parents, in parenting in general, but also for any individual, whether you're a parent or not. We all have certain sets of values. And I'm not talking about the general values in life. I'm not talking about being honest or being hardworking or having work ethics. No, I think we need to delve much deeper and understand on a deeper level, what are my core values? What are the values that move me as a person, that move me as a person in my workforce, that move me as a parent with my family, and that move me as a person in just my personal life. And until we get to that point, it's impossible to change, and it's impossible to accept ourselves, because we continue to become unsure of who we are. So creating or having that clarity gives us the confidence to make these changes.
But why would self-awareness be important if I'm in a situation at work? How does self-awareness apply there, Zahra?
So I think when we're talking about work, what are the core values, or what is moving you? So if we're talking about Taiba, where is Taiba working? What is moving Taiba? What are the goals that Taiba wants to achieve in her workplace? And until you understand that, and until you can answer these questions with conviction, you can't really reach the goals that you have set for yourself. There really isn't a reason why, if you set yourself to, for example, you say Taiba wants to become the CEO of XYZ company in 5 years' time. There is no reason why you shouldn't be able to achieve that goal if you put in the right amount of work, and if you have your game plan or your kind of your map to take you to your goal. A goal, if you just say this is my goal without actually having an action plan that will take you there, it just becomes an invalid dream. But if you actually have a goal, that you have specific action steps that will allow you to reach that goal, then it becomes a reality. And sometimes when I'm working with clients, a client will come and tell me, I want to work on a specific goal. And then once we put together the action steps or the roadmap to this goal, you realize that this person does not identify with that goal. Because when it comes to actually doing the work, because with anything in life, you have to do the work, whether it is losing 10 pounds or whether it is running a 5K or running a 42-kilometer marathon, or becoming the mother you've always dreamt of, or getting that promotion. You have to put in the work. And if you don't identify, and if you don't have the self-awareness, and you don't realize that, does this goal really match my core values? And do I have what it takes in me to actually work on these action steps to get me to that goal? You won't be able to get to that goal. And so this is the importance of self-awareness. It basically facilitates your reaching your goals, going from point A to point B. And without having these action steps, or without working on these action steps, you won't be able to get to that.
So, Nicoletta, Zahra mentioned having a plan to move forward. And then you also talked about athletes who don't know how they got to where they are. So do you see there is an importance in, let's say, journaling in order to know? Because if you have your 5-year plan and you're working towards it, there are going to be setbacks. And then if you have it written down, you can go back and see what worked. And then you can reapply that to actually reach your goal. Is that something that should be explored by women?
Yes, it is. There's an exercise that I always ask my athletes to do that helps a lot to teach them how to be self-aware. And it's two questions. And they have to answer to those questions always after every single training. And the questions are, what did you do good? Can I say that? Okay, what did you do good? In a point of view, in a physical point of view, a technical point of view, and mental point of view. And what you should have done better in a physical point of view, technical point of view, and mental point of view. What happened that at the beginning, they just write down, I don't know, like I did my exercises using well my body, and I used this technique, and I was happy to be there. And that's it. They are not aware of how their body is working, and what they are really feeling, and which are their thoughts and everything. So just to put down this and to do this exercise every single training just help them, and you can see that the questions at the beginning are the answers at the beginning are really short, and while we go on in coaching, they start understanding more and more how they work, how their mind work, how their body work, how the technique work.
Yeah,
clear. Now, just can I add one thing? And can we then say that all starts also with the responsibility? Then when we take the responsibility of our own action, our own goals to be reached. I mean, and then we stop to give the responsibility to somebody else, but we first start with our own responsibility and what we can do to actually reach what we want to do, disregardless the childhood, disregardless parents, all the background we have.
Absolutely. I believe in the fact that we need to sometimes step out of, not sometimes, but always step out of the role of being a victim. Once we identify with things happening to us, then I forfeit the power of actually having or owning the solution. And once I understand that, you know what, these things might have happened to me, but this is how I'm going to deal with it. And we've all gone through something. I think we all have a story to say, whether it's from our childhood, whether it's from our adolescence, whether it's from our workplace, whether it's from our marriages. We all have our unique and personal stories, and it is what shapes us into who we are today. And until we understand that, and until we step out of the role of being a victim, we can't truly change who we are or reach our kind of the prophecy that we have for ourselves. And if we truly want to step into that light, step into who we truly want to be, step into the best version of ourselves, we need to own our stories and we need to own the solutions to the stories. Once we identify as the victim, what happens then you never have the solution, because it's always someone who has done that. Yeah. Exactly. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always the values that you learned from your mother, or the way that your father treated you, or the way that your teacher told you to do something, or the way that society dictates how you should behave. And once you step out of that role, and once you realize that I don't need to be a victim to these things, and I actually own the solution, then it really becomes it becomes possible for you to change the outcome. Because then once you own the solution, then you can take that part. But once you're always the victim, then things are happening to you, and you're kind of just accepting all of these things without really digesting them, or without it's like someone who gets slapped and is just standing there. So I get slapped again, then I get slapped again, and I get slapped again. But until you say, stop, I don't want this to happen to me anymore, can you really move forward and kind of understand how to evolve as a person and move from point A to point B?
Okay, if understanding my self-awareness, let's do something more practical, because you've touched on values more than once. And then for someone who is beginning to understand their own self-values, how do I identify where my values start and where society, culture, parents' values are there? It's, if you grew up on them, you will assume that they're your values. So how do I identify and separate between them in order for me to become more aware of who I am?
You touched on the importance of journaling earlier, and I'm a true believer in the importance of journaling, whether it's for you as a person or whether for a parent. When we go through life just on a day-to-day basis, then so many things are happening to us without us actually processing what is happening to us, and without understanding how we also deal with whatever is happening around us or in our lives on a daily basis. Once you start journaling, then it allows you to take a step back from everything that is happening and kind of look at things objectively a little bit more and understand things from a different perspective. And then once you start to do that, then you understand what truly moves you. So for example, someone who has gone through life with parents who have always valued a certain body image in their kids would maybe grow up to think, I need to always be on a specific kind of diet, or I need to be working out a specific number of times a day. Maybe I need to take part in a triathlon or some kind of run or whatever. And then once they start to journal or take a step back and truly look at their lives, they would understand that maybe these are not the values that they hold, or kind of the values that they honor, or the values that will move them and help them shift their lives. Maybe there are a different set of values, and it goes on for so many different things. It touches on work ethics, it touches on society, it touches on what moves you as a person and the goals that you set for yourself. And it goes on and on. There is honestly no limit to these things. And so if we go through our life kind of blindly and just leading on a day-to-day basis, going through the motions, let's say, then you never understand who you truly are, or never understand what are your core values. Once you question yourself, and once you take an honest kind of stance on your life and understand what moves me as a person, what moves Zahra, or what moves Taiba, or what moves Nicoletta, or what moves Christiana, and then kind of understand, I'm doing these things, I'm not enjoying them. So what if I shift a little bit? What if I changed how I do things? Maybe I was always told that some kids are always told that they should be doctors, or they should be lawyers, or they should be engineers. And so they go through life thinking, these are my values. I value learning, I value research, I value certain ways of life, and then they get into these careers and understand that these careers are actually making them miserable, and this is not what they want in life, and kind of make a complete shift into another direction. And this is because even as either young kids, or in our adolescence, or in our kind of early life, we are blinded by what is said to us from society. There's so much that is thrown at us on a daily basis, and we don't take the moment to dissect these things. Once we dissect these things, then we're able to understand what are our core values, and what moves us, and what allows us to reach the goals that we want.
Nicoletta, do you agree with that? Because you talked about you have athletes going to the Olympics. That's high pressure. Mm-hmm. And just like the Olympics, there are some jobs that are extremely high pressure, especially for working mothers who are running companies and wanting to be mothers and have social obligations and all of that. That's high pressure. I think it's fair enough to say it's like running in the Olympics. So
yes, it's true.
Do these points apply also when it comes to those situations?
Absolutely, yes. That's the same thing. The fact is that what we have to learn is, as we were saying, we cannot change the outside, the world outside. We can only change ourselves. And what we can learn is to change the frame to the things, and to give other significato, wait a moment. Meaning. Yes, and just giving other meanings to things. And so, you can imagine, like a soccer player here in Italy, he has a lot of pressure from the people outside, or from the journalists, or everybody. And what I just tell them is that we can decide if we want to give our power to something,
the others,
outside, or to someone else, or just keep our power for ourselves. And so there's nothing that someone else can say that can touch us if we don't let these things touch us, so it's our decision to do what we want with what happens outside. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing that I was telling them when COVID arrived. You can imagine Olympic Games should have been done last year. And so I have athletes that are like 35 years old, And so they knew that that was the last occasion for them to be there, you know. And so when just the world stopped and they decided that they wouldn't have done Olympic Games last year and didn't know if they would have done it the year after, they were like, oh my God, I don't have my occasion or my goal anymore. And so I just helped them to start feeling what was happening in another way, a way that was a good way for them, you know, a useful way for them. And so we start focusing on the fact that they could have one more year just to work on themselves and to be more ready to get there. And that's what happened. We worked a lot during like the lockdown, and I teach breathing, and so we made a lot of breathing exercises, and the breathing just helped a lot us to just feel ourselves and feel our body, and you know, and just stay in contact with themselves. And that's what we need to do, to remain in contact with ourselves, because sometimes we just anesthetize ourselves with many things that we do outside, and we don't give us the time to feel what is happening inside. And the fact is that we just go on with beliefs that sometimes are not ours, but of our family or society or whatever. Mm-hmm. And to understand what it's really, which are our values, our beliefs, we have to stop and listen.
That's it. Sure. I just want to remind participants here, if you guys have a question, please write it in the chat. Nicoletta, if I am a person who just came to you and wanted to start today to cultivate self-awareness, I have no idea where to start. What would be the top 5 tips you would give me for me to start doing that?
I find it difficult to say, because I work in a different way with every different clients that come to me. So what I would do with you is only just asking you, okay, what do you want? What would make you happy? Which are your goals, and why do you think you are not reaching your goals? And I just wait that they give me answers, and just listening to the answer, I start understanding which is their internal dialogue, what's the way they are talking to themselves. As you were writing to the post in Instagram, which are the words they are using to tell their stories. And so I start from that, just mirroring, just being their mirror, where they can see themselves and see what they just bring.
Nice. Zahra, what would be your practical tips for me to start?
So the first thing I would ask you to do is understand, once you have a negative emotion like anger, fear, shame, sadness, I would want you to take a moment to understand what triggers these emotions in you. I would ask you to reflect and journal on the way that you respond to things in general, whether it's negative emotions, whether it's positive emotions, whether it's people around you. This is the second thing I would want you to do. I would want you to kind of take some time, once you go through a specific, let's say some moments in your life, kind of take some time to respond to these things before, just to create that consciousness, to create that self-awareness of understanding how you're going to react and understanding the difference between action and reaction. Another thing I would ask you to do is, again, going back to journaling and just kind of reflecting on life, right? understanding what makes you happy, understanding what triggers you, understanding what makes you tick. And I've worked with a lot of clients in helping them understand that. And this is one of the biggest questions I always ask. What is it that would make Taiba happy? Or what is it that makes Nicoletta's heart sing? Or what is it that makes Christiana want to achieve a certain thing? There's always some kind of trigger, and I would want to know what is it that makes you happy? Because what makes you happy would be different than what makes me happy. The other thing is, sometimes we block negative feelings, and sometimes we think that it's a negative thing to have a bad mood, and we try to kind of always be positive and always be in a good mood and kind of block out all these negative thoughts. And I would want to allow yourself to open up the space to these negative thoughts and to that bad mood and say, you know what? I know I'm going through a difficult time, and I'm going to welcome this feeling, and I'm going to sit with it here for a moment, understand where this feeling is coming from, understand where is it affecting me. Sometimes we hold our negative feelings in our shoulders, sometimes it's in our neck, sometimes it's in our stomachs. So understanding where are these feelings coming from and where do they manifest in our bodies, and how can we as people get rid of them? Because how you would get rid of a negative feeling would be different than how I would get rid of a negative feeling. So I think these would be my 5 biggest steps to start from.
Nice. Does having a coach having a coach, does that have to last for a long time, or can I just see a coach for a shorter period of time? How long is that commitment generally?
It depends. There's not, for me, there's not a rule. Sometimes I just see a person only once. He comes to me with a problem, and we just find a solution in that single coaching. Sometimes, like for athletes, I just follow them for years, but just because they always want to reach goals that are higher. And so we just continue working on being aware of themselves more and more, and put goals that are always higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, when it comes to coaching, I always make it clear to my clients that it's, I think the unique thing about coaching is that it's not a pill, it's not a Panadol that you take to kind of take the headache away. It's a relationship that takes a while, because it depends on the habits that we have built and understanding ourselves and going through a lot of, I would like to say, groundbreaking rules. And I think that takes time, and it takes process, and it takes a lot of a big mental capacity and a big commitment. So I usually, what I would do as a coach, I usually book my clients for a coaching consultation where they can kind of get a feel of what they can achieve with me and understand what is it that brought them into the coaching realm and what is it that they want to accomplish. And then I take it from there. And because it is very much like, if you go to the gym only one time thinking that you lose 10 kilos in that just one session, I think you're being very unrealistic. But I think if you have a goal of losing 10 kilos, then you understand that you need to commit to going to the gym at least 3 times a week, right? And it's the same thing with coaching. You have a goal and you understand that this is what I want, or this is where I want to be. And so you hire a coach to help you get to that point. And putting the work means that you put in that work with the coach to kind of get to the goal that you're building towards.
Right. We have a question. Marina's asking, she's a young woman starting her career. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give her to maximize her opportunities? Nicoletta, you want to take that?
I would ask her many things to understand better what she really wants. I mean, that's what I think it's coaching. Coaching, for me, does not have a solution or a protocol or something that it's always like that and it works with everybody. That's not my way of doing coaching. So for it will be different for every single person. So it depends on what does Marina feels in doing this new job, or what are the difficulties she's finding or not. And so I would ask her what she really wants.
Yeah.
But in fact, now I just wanted to add to ask you something and to add something to the conversation. Also starting from what Marina was asking, no? Because, you know, as Nicoletta, as you said, so first I need to understand what she wants. Most of the time, but I'm not a coacher, but because it happens to me also that we don't know what we really want. I like when you said, when Taiba was asking you, give me some tips, no? Immediate tip. Imagine I want to start my career, I want to do something, give me some tips. Both of you answered. Nicoletta said, yes, I will put you in front of a mirror, so you have to look at yourself. Zahra said, okay, just go on the journaling, go through your reaction, your emotion, then you will see from a distance. My question to you is, because it also can help to also understand and reply to Marina's question. What it happened in case you realize that I have a complete wrong self-perception of myself? So that in the mirror or in the journaling, the image that I have of myself is actually a wrong perception.
So excuse me.
Go on. No, that's the question. Then I have another question, but I will ask you later.
I don't think there's a wrong perception. I don't think so. I think that there are some parts that are primary parts, the parts that we decided that will be the ones that we will use in our life, because are the parts that helped us to be accepted by family or the environment around us. And there are parts that we just refused.
Ignore. Yeah.
Ignore or refused, you know, because are probably the opposite of our primary parts. And so we just put them in the canteen and don't want to see them and don't want to know anything about them, you know. But what happened is that those parts just don't want to be ignored, just want to come up and say, yeah, I'm here. Yeah. And how do they do that? They do that just making us attract people that have those parts as primary parts. So if I had put away in my life my aggressive part because I really want to be kind, because my family was a kind family, what happens is that I hate to be aggressive. I don't want to be aggressive, never in my life. And I don't like aggressive people. But what happened is that I always find aggressive people in my life, you know, or sometimes I'm tired, I'm coming back from my work and I'm driving and just something just use the klaxon and I get crazy and I start screaming and after
like
that
typical Italian.
Typical Italian. Yes. And after that I just look at myself and just say, what happened to me? Why did I react in that way, you know? And so we have no wrong parts, you know, or every single part of us just is there for something important for us. What we want to do is to be aware of all our parts, the parts that lead our life, but also the parts that we are rejecting, that we don't want to see. Because those parts, if we put them in our life, are so important. Because if I am a kind person and I want to be a kind person, but I'm always a kind person, every single day in my life, every hour of my day, you know, what's happening is that I cannot do or cannot be something like, I cannot say no. There's no way, I'm kind.
I have been told to be kind.
Yes, I need to be kind. I cannot, and I cannot put boundaries. I cannot get in a conflict. I can't do that because I need to be kind, you know? So if I accept my aggressive part and I bring it in a small, really small part in my life, that will be the way to be determined to go and take my goals, to stay in a conflict and to stay comfortable in a conflict. And I will do all those things in my kind way, but I will be able to do that. If not, I will not, you know, because those are parts that I don't want to see.
Yeah,
It becomes your driving force, kind of. I think it becomes your driving force.
Yes.
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 Yes, exactly. And because they are there, so we have to welcome them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there is another question, Taiba.
Actually, Sophia is asking, she's been reading a lot about personal development, raising awareness, personal habits and behavior. Yet she still finds it difficult to find the moment of pause between the trigger and the reaction. Secondly, she finds it difficult to establish new habits that will stay on the long run. Do you have any tips on how to be more centered, aligned, and in balance in her daily life? Zahra, any tips?
Yeah, okay. They're both loaded questions.
Yeah.
I think we go through life kind of understanding ourselves, and it's not a few books or a few sessions or a few tips that will help you kind of reach that point. It's a work in progress, and understanding that we're all a work in progress, and understanding that the work that you do on yourself never stops and it never ends. I'm reading her question again. Find it difficult to find that moment of pause between the trigger when, Okay, so establishing new habits, I think allowing yourself first to understand that you've gone through life, if you're 25 or if you're 30 or 35 or 40 or 45, however long you've been operating all your life with the habits that you have today. So understanding that it's not going to be, it'll take a while. It's not going to be a day or two. It's not going to be a few weeks. It's going to take a few years of very hard work to kind of overcome the way that you have been wired all of these years. And it's not as easy as changing your preference of I don't want to be simplistic, but changing our habits really does take a long time, because habits are essentially what makes us who we are today. And we go through life we have built these habits throughout all our lives, and these have been kind of ingrained in us throughout our upbringing. And so changing these habits will take a long time. So what I'm trying to say is, don't give up, keep putting the work, cut yourself some slack, understand that you are a work in progress, understand that you need to banish perfection. None of us are perfect, even though there are a lot of people who unfortunately strive to be. And I think this is our downfall. It's when we think that there is a certain point that we need to get to, and it's our perfection point, and this is what we're attaining. I think understanding that life is always about being imperfect, life is always a work in progress. You will have your good days, but you will have your setbacks. Understanding that these setbacks will just help you to see clearly where you are or how far you have come and where you want to be, and just embracing the change.
Yeah, I think change is hard, as you said, Zahra, with the habits. But going back to what you mentioned earlier, with you and Nicoletta, if you just start somewhere, there will be progress. It won't be from here to here, but there will be incremental progress. And then once you look back into your journals and into your goal and plan, you can see that last year I was here, but I made at least a 30% change when it comes to my habits, and it just has a compounding effect.
Exactly.
And with Sophia, I just want to say we've all had that pitfall of reading so many books, but unfortunately we do not apply what we read, and that's where the magic happens, when you actually apply all the knowledge that you have.
Can I say something?
Sure, Nicoletta,
yeah.
go ahead.
About that?
Sure.
I'm not so sure about that, and I tell you why. I go back to the parts. Okay, so I can understand that that's the best way for me to get there. Okay, so I know everything. I know that that's the part. I know that's what I should do. I know everything, but I don't succeed in doing it. Okay, so every single time I found myself at the starting point when happens something like that, and when I see something like that in a client, and I see that the client has a good will, voluntary will, vero?
Will.
Yes, has a good will and wants to get there, and he tries a lot to get there, I know for sure that there is something unconscious that is stopping him or her to get there. So this is not a fact of willing. It's not a fact of it's not a fact of effort. It's not what we should ask ourselves, because if there's an effort, it means that there's a part that is not okay for that. When we get to our goals, to big goals, we always arrive there in a simple way. So it's something that it's easy, and it's the when we say when wait a moment.
Tell me if I can help you.
The transagonistica,
Wow, transagonistic, yeah.
I'm talking about athletes, but it's the same thing as you said before for normal people, so you get in a state of mind, so you are just there, and all your parts are aligned. Your mind, your body, everything is aligned. And so you reach your goals, you don't even know how, you didn't do that effort, or you did an effort, but you didn't feel it. And everything is simple. To get there, the fact is that I have to align my parts. And so if I found a difficulty to get somewhere, I must know that there is always a good reason. Always. We don't have wrong parts. So what we need to do is to stop and say, okay, I have a big part that just want to get there, but let me talk with the part that doesn't want to get there. And
why?
And we need to be sure. We need to be sure that there is always a yes part and a no part, always. So when it's difficult to reach a goal, we have to understand why there's a part of us that doesn't really want us to get there. And when this part doesn't want to get there, the more you push to try to get there, the more they are starting sabotaging us. In sport, this means that they can injure themselves. So the parts that doesn't want them to win, because we also have parts that doesn't want us to win, and there's always a good reason for that, just start stopping. You don't stop because you are strong and you have a big volunteer, and I will stop you, just stopping your body.
Yeah. So basically, Nicoletta, if I understood you correctly, what you're saying is that when you don't reach a goal, maybe the reason could be that there is a part of you that actually doesn't want to reach the goal.
No.
So if you really want to reach the goal, what you have to do, instead of insisting with the old habit, is to see which part of you is actually stopping you, and work with this part, because otherwise you will never reach where you want to go.
Yes, I give you an example so that you can understand better what I'm talking about. Imagine, imagine an athlete that wants to go to the Olympic Games. Of course, he has a big part, a primary part that is working hard to reach the goal, and he can sacrifice, and he just train a lot. Okay, and that's good, you know, because it helped that person to reach big goals, you know. But they sometimes they just have a part that only want them to rest, to stay with their friends, to stay with a girlfriend or with a boyfriend and have fun and drink whatever with them. You know, that's it. That's what this part wants. And if I don't give space to this part,
I don't reach the goal.
Yeah, this part starts sabotaging me.
Yeah. These are amazing tips and insights. Unfortunately, we're out of time. If anyone's interested, both Nicoletta and Zahra are tagged on our Instagram on Spazio Italia, so you can follow them and see more of their work over there. Thank you, ladies, for joining us today.
Thank you too.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
Today.
Absolutely. I hope everyone has a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.